Hi, how you doing? I'm SAVATS, and I'm here to answer an email. This email comes from somebody named Greg. Is it Greg 90210? Greg 67391? Whatever it is. He writes, "Hey man, thanks for posting this. By the way, this is in reference to the boxing match that I had in my backyard back in 1991 with Tony Diaz." So Greg writes, "Hey man, thanks for posting this. You were way ahead of the curve as far as having some video like this. I boxed amateur and almost turned professional back in the 80s, but something inside of me gets more of a kick out of seeing two guys hammered out in the backyard like this. More of a story to it most of the time. You stayed very cool and loose, and the shorter guy was way too obsessed with landing. Great shot you caught him with midway through the first round. You and me would have had some good, friendly sparring if we were in the same place." And he grinned. And I'm grinning too, because I'm sure we would have. He says, "Don't think I'm crazy, but I would enjoy hearing the background on this, as boxing isn't the big focus of your postings, and it really looked like the smaller guy was out to knock you to Mars. Part of my psychology studies in college were with regard to why guys like to fight, so tell me the story if you feel like it. The best, Greg." So Greg, here's your reply. Let's see, the story behind the fight. Well, I can give you a lot of background on how I started boxing, but I'm sure you don't really care to hear that. But in a nutshell, it really goes back to 1985 when I watched Larry Holmes and Michael Spinks fight for the heavyweight championship of the world. And at that time, up to that point, no light heavyweight had ever beaten a heavyweight. And my father was really rooting against Holmes because he didn't want to see Rocky Marciano's record broken. Me, I could care less. I was actually rooting for Spinks because I wanted to see history made. Anyway, after watching that fight, I got all excited about boxing, and I started kind of toying around with my friends. You know, wherever I went, I bought 2 pairs of boxing gloves, and wherever I went, I'd have those boxing gloves with me. And I did a lot of boxing in 1987, 88, and 89, and 90. Not just in my backyard, but in the parking lot of Movie City 5. I really took on all comers, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, I was very hard to hit because of the pavement. Here's the funny thing: I kind of taught myself how to box watching Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard, and because of the pavement, because we were boxing on pavement, I was so afraid of getting hit and getting knocked out and then falling back and hitting my head on the pavement that I became very, defensive oriented, and so that really worked on my defense a lot. It got me really sharp in watching the punches coming and being able to slip and move and block and stuff like that. But as far as this particular fight goes, this kid Tony Diaz is a friend of mine. We kind of ran with the same people, and we used to box guys from different towns, and I mean it got really crazy. And this was one of the biggest hype fights because Tony had a really big mouth, and so we're hanging out, by the train tracks, and we're drinking some beers, and it was brought up that maybe Tony should be my next fight. I was like, yeah, okay, that sounds good to me, man. Let's do it. And Tony got real revved up, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna kick your ass! Oh, I can't wait! Oh, I can't wait! Oh!" I was just like, "Okay, dude. All right. Well, we'll set it up. We'll set the date and everything else." He did. He really. I got the feeling that for some reason there was something about me he didn't like, but and he really did want to kill me. He wanted to prove that he was better than I was, and he had a few fights himself, and he wasn't bad, but I had the feeling that I'd be able to take care of him because up to this point I only had one loss, and that was his best friend, the great, as I call him, the great John Earp, the Earpquake, and he's the only guy to beat me. But I fought him when I was sick too, so whatever. I'm not gonna make excuses. He had a great day, and I've been trying to get John back in the ring ever since, by the way, but for one reason or another, we just never got it done. But going into this fight, it was a really, really big deal. It was a really big deal, and Tony came out like he wanted to kill me, which I knew he did, And like you said, I stayed cool because if you lose your head, during a boxing match, you're gonna get killed. You're not gonna be able to, really to know what to do. As far as you have to keep your mind clear and just focus on the task at hand. And I saw about midway through the round that he was actually starting to get tired just that quickly. I knew he expended a lot of energy, so I was just like, oh my God, this, as long as I just stay cool, I'm going to slowly take this guy apart. And he just tried to bully me. And so midway through the round, I landed a good right hand and put him down. Actually, not a lot of people know this, but that broke his nose, and you could see. And then what really annoyed me is that he came back to the corner. He came back to his corner, and he was like, wipe my nose, and I'm standing back, you know, in the other corner on the other side of the ring, and I'm like, come on, dude, you know, the round isn't over. Well, you can't just stop in the middle of a round. And so that really pissed me off. And so finally, you know, after trying to make it stop bleeding for like 30 seconds or something, finally he comes back to continue to fight, and I just wanted to hammer him into the ground, and I had about 7 or 8 seconds, and the bell rang. But in the second round, and he came out and he threw me to the ground, and at that point I was just like, dude, you know what, I've had enough of this. Now I'm not just going to beat you, but I'm going to humiliate you, because I've had enough of your bravado. You know, you throwing me to the ground, you know, all of the trash talk, all of this garbage, and we're supposed to be cool. This is one of my pals that I used to hang out with, and all of a sudden he turns into, you know, Mr. Tool, you know what I mean, Mr. PR Ick. And so I just kind of toyed with him a little bit, and, you know, threw the twirling and then the left jab, and I just had him. He couldn't hit me, and I just had him. He just quit. And that's basically the story. It's not really much of a story, but it is the story before the fight. We were friends before that. We weren't really so much friends afterwards, because, you know, if I didn't videotape that fight and then like show all of my friends and all of his friends and our friends and everybody together, and this is back before the YouTube days, so, you know, they were coming over my house. The people that couldn't make the fight were coming over my house saying, I want to see the fight, I want to see the fight. And a lot of these people, I didn't tell what happened, so that was pretty cool too. But I have no idea where Tony is today. I don't know what he's doing. I wish him the best. You know, I'd like to see him again for old time's sake. If he wants to box again, if he wants a rematch, that's fine too. But man, I'll tell you, we just had so much fun. That was back in the days when, you know, you could put the gloves on and just go all day long, and it just seemed like you can go forever and never get tired. But Tony and I became arch rivals, and we never fought again, but I kept going, and of course the rest is history. If anybody wants to know about that, ask. I don't feel like getting into that. I'm just answering this particular question. Greg, thank you for your inquiry, and all the best to you, my friend, and may you have a wonderful, productive life. So long.